Hi everybody, I'm Haley and I used to be a chef. I worked at 17 starting at a cash register at a Golden Corral, and then I worked all the way to a Hilton, and then that's when trouble started. I pinched my nerve and had to get ulnar nerve decompression surgery. Luckily now I can feel my hand, but my health kind of went downhill from there, and I found out I have ehlers-danlos syndrome type 3. If you don't know what ehlers-danlos syndrome is, it is a connective tissue disorder. It is genetic. There are 13 types. I only really know about the hypermobile type because that is what I have. The diagnosis criteria starts with part 1, where you get 1 point for each of the things you can do. One of the things is your thumb to your wrist, and you get 1 point for each side. The second thing is they put your pinky flat and they bend it back. If it's more than 90, that's another one. So if you do that on both sides, it's 4 points. For my age group, since I am after puberty, I need to have 5. I can do both thumbs and both pinkies. And then they test your elbows and how hypermobile they are, and your knees. One of the other thing is they see if you can touch the floor with your palms down just by bending. So I hit most of that, and then the second part of that does have a couple of exceptions, like if you used to be able to do the thumb thing or you used to be able to do the splits, but that's something you'd have to talk over with your geneticist. I am posting a link below to the official criteria scoring page, so you should be able to see that. And then there's criteria 2, which 5 of them must be present. Some of the examples of that are soft or velvety skin, pretty soft skin, especially in places like here. And then skin hypermobility, which I don't have as bad as most people, but my doctor, he always grabs on the outside part right here, and mine's really not that bad. Teeth crowding, which I had braces and had to get a spacer when I was younger. My teeth don't look bad now. The Walker sign. It's a sign of connective tissue disorders as well as morphonism. I think I'm saying that wrong. And there's 2 ways to do it. The first way I don't hit, which is your thumb to your pinky around your wrist. The second way is they make you put your thumb as far as it can over this way and go like this, which I somewhat pass, but to be a true sign, it should be at least your fingernail, your thumbnail. And that's only part A of criteria 2. Criteria 2, part B, is if you have a family history. None of my family has been checked, but we are pretty sure my mom and my sister both have it as well. My mom is 40s and can still do the splits. C of part 2, which you have to have one of. Widespread pain for more than 3 months. Reoccurring joint locations without trauma. So with dislocating a joint without doing something that would hurt it, like a fall or sports or something like that. Or pain in 2 or more limbs. So for me, it's my DS is part of the reason I pinched my nerve. So that was one that I still get pain sometimes. Not that I had surgery, it's not as bad, but if it's cold, I can feel it. My wrists are really bad. It pops just when I do this, and I'll just do that all day. A couple of my other joints are bad too. I sprain my ankles a lot, especially my left one. And then the last criteria of that is criteria 3, and all of them must be present, but mostly criteria 3 is just making sure your hypermobility isn't from something else. So like a different type of genetic tissue disorder or an autoimmune disorder. So they just wanted to make sure it's not something else, pretty much in part 3. So if it is, they will take a genetic test and rule, or an AOA, the autoimmune test, to make sure it's not something else that's causing this. And it rules out all of that, then you probably do have hypermobile EDS. Hypermobile type is the one type that they have not found gene markers for yet, but the other 12 types do have gene markers. So if it's not hypermobile type, all they have to do is a gene test. So that's why it is best to go to a geneticist. My rheumatologist evaluated me, and then she sent me to a geneticist. And with EDS, there's a lot of comorbidities, which are basically things that also come frequently together. And for me, my worsts are probably the chronic fatigue and gastrointestinal issues. I have gastroparesis, which is basically just a slow stomach, and it makes me vomit a lot. IBS type D, and there are 3 types of IBS. There is IBS-D, which is IBS diarrhea, IBS-C, which is constipation, and IBS-A, which is a mixture of both. I also have GERD, and so there's also the dysautonomia stuff that I have. I have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome as well as orthostatic hypertension. And for this, my neurologist made me do autonomic testing. The first test was I would have to blow in something, and then they also did a sweat test where they put something to my arm and made me sweat. And then they did a tilt table test, which I failed the tilt table test. I actually failed 2 tilt table tests. Sent to a dysautonomia specialist. It's actually in Toledo, and he's a pretty famous doctor. His name is Dr. Blair Grubb, and I had to change my whole diet because of the gastrointestinal issues. My doctors want me to follow the gastroparesis diet, low food maps, as well as the anti-inflammatory diet for all my medical conditions. And I have to reteach myself completely how to eat and how to cook. And I really like food. I went to culinary school. I was a cook for so long. And honestly, I just want to bring you guys along on that journey. I might share more of my medical history, but I just wanted you to get a brief background of who I am and what I'm here for. I want to share the tips of the trade. And honestly, if you're struggling with food issues and you need help finding something that you can eat along with all your list of what you can't eat, then I want to be able to be there for you and help you out. So I feel like sharing my experience might help somebody else that's struggling with this. That's all.